Hello friends, what's up and welcome to the somewhat requested and moderately anticipated parkour guide by me. It's Rapatopoulos, by the way, that's how you say it. I've never said that out loud, at least not on this channel before. So that's it, it's not changing. Get used to it, learn it. I know it's hard, but you can do it, I believe. This seems like an appropriate time for me to make this video. I'm kind of waiting for New Game Plus to come out to flesh out some other new ideas that I have, because, you know, I've climbed on every rooftop and put my boots on every beam in this game. I've thrown a knife through the face of just about every guard in the whole damn city. So, I guess it's time for a parkour tutorial. And I know it's late. The game's been out for a few months now, and if you're having trouble with the parkour, you've probably found a different and much better tutorial than this one. But I think I have my own 2 cents to add and a few things that I want to say, and just, you know, kind of put my own personal twist on this, tell you what works for me. A couple of things I want to say before we start. This is primarily for console or controller people. I'm sure a lot of the things that I talk about on here will transfer over to PC, but I'm also going to talk about some controller-specific things as well. The last thing I want to say before we get started here is that this isn't necessarily like the definitive guide to Assassin's Creed Mirage Parkour. It's not the Bible, okay? This is my own personal guide. This is the way I prefer to do things. If something that I say, if you disagree with it, you know, go ahead and you can let me know what works for you. That's fine. But this is kind of just my guide. This is what I do. People wanted to know how I do these things. This is how I do it. So yeah, if you want to learn from the master, that's me. Listen up. I'll teach you all my fun and sweet little secrets. If you've seen any other parkour tutorials at all, you've heard this before, but it's super important, so I'm gonna say it again. First thing you do in this game, you know, you load up the game first time, the game prompts you, it says press left stick to walk forward or whatever. Don't do it, man. Pause the game. You gotta get in those settings. You gotta swap that tool wheel with the sprint button. There may be a better configuration, like a more in-depth, you know, custom configuration for the controls. I didn't go that route. I just swapped those two right off the bat. Change sprint to right trigger or R2 or whatever, and change it from toggle to hold. You got to do it. So this does 2 things. First, it's going to make your controls feel more reminiscent of the original games. You know, people like that back to roots feeling, which is what this game promised, right? So, you know, in the old games you had to enter high profile mode by holding R2, and so binding it to R2 in this game is just going to kind of bridge that gap and make it feel more old school. The thing that it does, this is probably more important, is changing from toggle to hold, and that's because this game doesn't do a good job at giving you any visual feedback on if you're like actively currently sprinting or not. You know, if you land from a jump, it takes him a few seconds to accelerate to that top speed, and if you have toggle on, you don't really know if you're getting up to that top speed or not. If you're holding it, you have proof without a shadow of a doubt. I am at least on my way to being sprinting. All right, I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this one. You know that you got to switch that. That's like the first thing you do. Everyone talks about that. The only other setting that I've changed, and this is something I kind of came up with on my own, and you might think it's stupid, maybe it is stupid, but it's been at least somewhat helpful to me, is the reticle color, which I initially changed because, you know, I just thought it was cute. But what the reticle does, just in a normal, while you're just free roaming around, is it indicates your stance, whether you're crouched or not. And if you played this game, you know it's easy to accidentally become crouched. You can do it at like any time. And since it's permanently bound to the drop to ledge button or whatever you call it, it happens all the time. You'll just be parkouring around doing your thing, and then suddenly you're moving super slow because you're crouched. I changed mine to green. It stands out really well against most environments. I probably wouldn't recommend changing it to yellow or orange. I feel like that would blend in kind of with the sandy landscape of the game. But just having it a brighter color, it just kind of sticks out to your face, and it'll let you know with more certainty what stance you're in. And to elaborate a little bit further on this, you can change your stance in and out of crouching at pretty much any time. You can do it whether or not the dot is showing while you're jumping on one of those corner swings, crouching, sliding, diving, rolling, any of that stuff. You can always change it. So if you notice that dot and you don't want to be crouching, you can press your crouch button at pretty much any time and he will land in the opposite stance. You know what a back eject is. Okay. They're different now though. They're not the same way they used to be in the Ezio days. They're contextual now. They're not manual like they used to be. And they don't gain height anymore. And I know that's a bummer. We all wish they did, but guess what? It's actually okay. Basim climbs fast as hell. He can scale a wall vertically faster than anyone else. It's alright, not every move has to gain height. It's a perfectly reasonable and useful move to be able to move yourself to an opposite lateral position. One thing I never see anyone mentioning is how useful back ejects can be for parkour down. You'll see one right here. I mean, this is the smoothest parkour down. I mean, smoother than anything, even in Unity, I would say. So when you combine this backwards eject with this hang ledge move, it makes for some really cool parkour down opportunities. And you can just smoothly descend any build, maybe not any building, but a lot of buildings. That's for sure. Many of them. We're just going to take a quick break from the parkour and let the rest of this little stealth scenario play out here. I mean, this is just nice stuff. Let's just watch. You know. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Oh, that's nice, dude. Yup, hit him with the focus. Oh, shit. That's just really nice. Okay. Yup, right in the spleen. Cool, dude. Alright, anyways, so, in conclusion, back ejects, use them to make equal opposite lateral movements, use them for parkour down, use them in combination with the drop ledge, and cool things will start to happen. So I just wanted to take a moment here to say hello to everyone who used the timestamp to skip ahead to the side eject portion of this video. I know that's why you're all here, but by skipping ahead, you've robbed me of my watch time, and now my infant son is going to have to get a job at the almond milking factory in order to support my YouTube career. So thanks a lot. You know, the first time I posted this clip right here, I got my favorite YouTube comment ever. It was from this guy who was so confident and so certain that I was using mods to deceive you into thinking that I was like some god at this game. And I know I'm not a god, but I'm out here on PlayStation. I've never used a mod in my life. So I'm going to teach you how to do side ejects without mods. There are a few different methods that kind of float around the Assassin's Creed community, message boards and such. I don't really use any of those methods. I have my own. Also, check this out. How's this for consistency? Pretty good, I would say. My method is this. Climb to wherever you're trying to eject from. Stop. Let him set. Let him finish his animation. Let go of everything, all your inputs, including sprint. Once he's good and ready, and you're good and ready, input the direction you want to eject, and press the parkour button, in my case, X, or if you're on Xbox, A, at the same time. Press them simultaneously. He'll eject, man. I don't know why it takes, you know, an entire fan base to figure this out, but that's how I figured it out, and it works, like, almost every time. Input the direction, press the parkour button, same time, and do it like sharply, do it quickly, do it like you mean it, and it'll work. It works for me very consistently. There is some debate on whether to use the parkour up X button or the parkour down or the circle button for these kinds of ejects. I honestly use both depending on the situation. If the target that I'm trying to eject to is more below me than it is away from me, if that makes sense, then I'll press circle to drop on it. But if it's further from me than it is lower than me, does that make any sense? Then I'll press X. So if I need to go far, I press X. If I need to drop down lower, I press circle. It's as simple as that. Again, like with the back ejects, these are not going to gain height. So you need to make sure that the object that you're trying to eject to is
equal to or lower than you. Like, it's got to be like at the very most like equal with where your feet are at, because he's not going to just be able to jump up and gain height to get on top of it. So it needs to be like even with your feet or below. The other thing you have to figure out is kind of the awkward range in which Bassam will like recognize these targets as an acceptable landing place for him. And it's a little weird to figure out, but once you start playing around with it, you'll learn where he can eject to. Like, you'll get the distance down in your brain, and you'll be able to pull them off really consistently. It works for me. Like I said, I mean, I can't stress it enough. It works for me all the time now. But it just takes a little bit of trial and error, figuring out what he can do and when he's going to be able to pull these moves off. But you'll get it.
I'm just going to explain a few of the more simple things really quickly here. If you slide at an edge like this and hold the circle button, hold the slide button, he will drop down and do that ledge hang just straight from the slide, which blends nicely into the parkour down stuff that I was talking about earlier. Here you'll see a nice ledge catch. It's a far cry from the 360-degree grab that we had in the older games, but it's surprisingly consistent in this game and works from various heights. Sometimes you'll take damage when doing it, which is odd. Not always, so I'm not really sure why. Like that first huge one, no damage, but this one is far less large and I get a little bit hurt. So I'm not really sure how exactly that works, but they are surprisingly consistent. I like to do this slide and roll move like on long straight stretches when I'm making my videos, just to break up kind of the longer parts. Someone accused me, well, they didn't accuse me, but they're like, oh, well, this parkour in this game is so bad that you have to use slides and rolls in order to make it look good. Hey man, tell me one Assassin's Creed game ever where running straight for 10 seconds is more exciting than this game. That's just a stupid take, I'm sorry. It's pretty simple, just like I talked about before with the crouching and the dot, the reticle dot. If you do the slide and then immediately press the circle crouch button again while you're sliding, he'll change from that crouch stance back into the standing position. And then when you do the roll, he'll land in a standing position. So you can do that slide and just continue running. So I'm using the phrase button discipline pretty loosely here. It doesn't really apply the same way it did in the older games, but I'll tell you kind of how I think I do it. It's kind of hard for me to talk about because it's kind of a subconscious thing that I do when I'm playing. But as far as like holding sprint and X while I'm just parkouring around, I'm pretty consistently holding sprint like at all times. As far as X goes for parkour, I'm not holding it as much. It's best, in my opinion, to use it as you would use a sprint button in most, or sorry, a jump button in most cases. So if you want to be jumping, press it. If you don't want to be jumping, don't press it. I think he tends to be stickier if you're holding it down. So like if you're running along a wire or something, or like a rope, I think that he tends to stick more to that rope. It'll be harder for him to jump off into like wherever your desired location will be if you're holding that X button. But if you're just holding the sprint button while you're running along the rope, and then you decide you want to jump to like a pole nearby, and then you press X as you're pointing your input direction towards that pole, I find that he's a lot more consistent in being able to pull that off effectively. The only time that I'm holding down X to parkour is if I'm going over like a series of beams or poles or whatever, like things that are in line like these right here, things that are designed for you to like continuously move across, then I'll hold it. Other than that, I use it as I would use a jump button. Like I'm tapping it to jump here and jump over there or whatever. Also, check out this weird move. What the hell is this, right? The final lesson. You gotta reach back deep into your childhood and remember the first time when you were like learning how to color, or when you were trying to figure out how to bounce on a pogo stick or whatever. Practice makes perfect, man. I mean, I've got like 150 hours in this game now, which is like 6 times longer than it's supposed to take to beat the whole thing. And that's a big part of why I'm able to make the game look as good as it does. And if you just like keep practicing all this stuff and you apply all of these little quirks and whatever to your gameplay, eventually it's all going to smooth out and it's going to be awesome. And, you know, the more you play, I think you'll start to notice that you look at the map differently. You look at all the structures and all the little parkourable objects differently because you know how you can use them in an effective way. So just keep playing, practice all these little things that I've told you about, and I guess have fun and whatever. Just play the game. It's awesome. Once you get it down, the like freedom that you have while roaming around Baghdad is awesome. It's really fun. I think that's about all I have to say. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. If I missed something major, let's get a little conversation going in the comments, I suppose. If you have different tips or a different technique to do some of these things, leave a comment. Maybe somebody else won't be able to get the ejects the way that I do them, and they could use your help. I apologize for the chaotic nature of this video. I'm just not the kind of guy who's going to be like, the thing you must understand when approaching Assassin's Creed Mirage Parkour. Like, that's just not who I am. And unlike my parkour videos, this dialogue is unscripted. I've recorded audio for this in like 5 different rooms and in my car while it's pouring down rain. So, you know, that's just the way it's got to be right now. So, thank you for being patient with the very, holy shit, amateur production quality of this video. So, yeah, thank you for watching. That's all I got. This has been the Rapatopoulos Assassin's Creed Mirage Parkour tutorial. So long. Oh, yeah, and if you hang from a beam and you hold the parkour button and then push forward on the thumbstick, you'll swing. Okay, bye.